Saturday, Cowboys welcome in the Detroit Lions, and this one is huge. The implications are far-reaching and wide-reaching. And just to start to dip our toe into the waters of this game, what players or what units are you most concerned about from these visiting Detroit Lions, Mike?
So I really like when Marcus Spears is on ESPN. I like his opinion. I've never met Marcus Spears before, but I feel like I'm engaged with his discussions on football on ESPN. I'm just like, man, he seems like he really knows what he's talking about. He gives specifics. He gives details behind his opinions. And so I really respect Marcus Spears and what he's saying on national broadcast. Mm-hmm. He said, so I'm going to go with this one because he made me fear this. He feels like Aidan Hutchinson is going to have a really good day against Steele. Which then I asked the question, I remember earlier in the week asking the question to Broadus, or no, I asked it to Mickey. I said, hey, do they move around Hutchinson a lot? And he said, I don't think so. I haven't followed up with Mick. I know he's watching film on it now, but it sounds like Steele is going to have the responsibility of their number 1 overall pick, right? Or was he number 2 overall?
He was number 2, I believe, correct?
Okay,
if I remember correctly.
I think you're right, number 2 overall. And it sounds like if Marcus is very concerned that Aidan Hutchinson can ruin the pocket for Dak on one-on-one matchups, then that's very concerning to me because I do feel like, you can correct me if you feel differently, I do feel like Detroit's going to put up at least 20-plus points. Like, I feel like they're going to be able to put up at least 24 points in this game. So the Cowboys are going to have to score at least 25 points, and that might not be enough in this game. You might need to get to 30 or low 30s to win this game. And if Aidan Hutchinson is messing up your timing and your pocket, that could be an issue because I don't believe in the Cowboys running game. I just don't believe it's good. I don't believe that it can sustain a drive. Mm-hmm. I know that there's times where they run the ball well, but I believe in the Cowboys have to pass the ball to score points. And that being said, if Aidan Hutchinson's messing that up, that could really be a long day for your offense.
Yeah, especially because Dak Prescott, given the time to operate in the pocket, can be very good when he's not hesitant. Because I know that Broadus has talked a decent amount about the fact that he looked hesitant in this game this past week against Miami. I have a feeling that, especially coming off of that game, that maybe he'll try and be a little bit more aggressive in the way that he throws the football. And also, when you consider that this is not a great defense that you're facing off against in the Detroit Lions, maybe he'll be more aggressive. We'll see more of that attacking over the middle. But you got to give him the time to do that. And so, yeah, Terrence Steele has a lot of responsibility here in making sure that that guy who can be a game wrecker does not, in fact, wreck the game. Because you're right, this is going to need to be a pass game, and we've talked enough about how the game script needs to be such that it keeps the Cowboys in a place where they can play from ahead, and that would give you some freedom and allow you to not be in those places where Aidan Hutchinson can pin his ears back and come and make it really difficult for you on offense.
Yeah, so I guess that's my fear from the Cowboys offensively is that there's one guy who can mess up all the timing and rhythm of the Cowboys. They have to be the number 1 offense in the NFL at home, right? Like, nobody's better than the Cowboys offense. If you just take everybody's home stats, I feel like the Cowboys have to blow everybody out of the water offensively at home. It's on the road where all of it, they can't carry that offense to Buffalo. They can't carry it to Miami. They can't carry it to Arizona. They can't carry it to San Francisco. For some reason, that offense, even when they went to Carolina, I remember that game being a little bit of a weird game midway through the third quarter going, why aren't we better than this? And then it did at the end get good. But at home, the Cowboys seem to, from the opening kickoff till the end of the game, roll offensively.
Another thing when we talk about who you are concerned about in this game on the YouTube here, I believe this is Texas Bear Club on YouTube. They say they're most concerned about the Detroit O-line completely smashing this D-line and undersized backers, right? Truly the worst feeling is seeing Jahmyr Gibbs run 5 yards untouched, then seeing whatever explosive run happens after that. And that's a very fair point. This is, by Pro Football Focus's rankings this week, the second best offensive line in football. and for good reason, right? They've invested capital in making sure this offensive line is good, and their identity is based behind that. And they've done a good job adding running backs that do a good job. But hey, man, this game in its most simple is about blocking and tackling, and they do that blocking portion of this very well. And so we're getting a little bit closer to what the Bills were capable of doing against the Cowboys. And now there's a lot of responsibility on all parties involved, including Mozzie Smith, as he's still getting more time. And trying to get those run fits right. Damone Clark, who's had a little bit of a rough go of it of late, and as in the linebacker spot, like this offensive line is going to be tough, and so shedding blocks and getting to the right places and maintaining your responsibilities in the run is going to be vital, because you let them just keep running, it's going to be a problem.
100% agree with this. This is the other side of the ball. Is will Dan Campbell, who just seems to be like from Glen Rose, great guy, played with the Dallas Cowboys. I wonder how much he wants to make this a bully game to start. I thought one of the best things Buffalo did, since I didn't get to talk about that game after it was over because I was on vacation.
Go for it.
I thought taking a personal foul on Dak Prescott and running the ball as strong as they did when they had the ball. So they run the ball as strong as they do, they score, and then one of the first plays, they intentionally take a personal foul on Dak Prescott. They wanted to let Dallas know, we're here to dirty this game up. We're here to make it a muddy game. I know it's on turf, but we're here to make this a dirty, ugly game. And immediately Dallas said, we quit. Dallas will quit. I don't care who. Micah Parsons, a future Hall of Famer. There's great players on this team. This is a very good football team. They are willing to quit at the drop of a hat if you show them, we are going to make this as physical of a game as possible, and we're not going to stop. We might take penalties just to show you how physical we're going to be, to this person's point. The offensive line might pile drive one of the Dallas Cowboys defensive linemen into the ground 3 seconds after the play is over, and maybe they get a 15-yard penalty. But that 15-yard penalty is an intimidation penalty, and the Cowboys are easily intimidated. Very good team. Easily intimidated. And I'm wondering if Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions have seen what San Francisco did, seen what Buffalo did, and said, intimidate them. If you intimidate them with strength, they will quit. Halfway through the third quarter, they will ask out of the fight of football because they don't want to play that style of football. They will play a track meet with you, and they will beat you 50-45. That is the most beautiful game for this Dallas Cowboys team, is to play an up-tempo, fast-paced, flying around the football field type of game. If you dirty it up and you start taking late blocks and late hits and holding on to, your blocker after the whistle's blown, it intimidates the living crap out of the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm wondering if Dan Campbell, to that person's point, will make sure offensive line, intimidate them after the whistle. You hear the whistle blow, play's not over till you want it to be over. Because if you do that early in the game, those guys will quit later in the game. And so I do think that is a possibility. I think Dan Campbell's smart enough to know, if you can intimidate this Dallas Cowboys team, they will want to quit.
Well, look, it's going to be a real challenge for that defense. Again, we mentioned the ways that they're undersized. This is a team that can play big. And yes, I appreciate you. And by the way, someone on the text line 972 says, I want you to remind you that Dan Campbell played at A&M too, Mike.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
But then 940 says, don't forget David Montgomery. Dude is a physical runner, grinds you out 5-6 yard runs, and the run game can't demoralize you. And that's exactly what you're speaking about, is the way that it could be just demoralizing, yard here, successful run. And that's kind of what we were talking about with the Miami game. How much more if they have this kind of power, it's going to be, offense is going to need to show up, right? Offense is going to need to keep this game and make them have to keep throwing the football. Because if they are throwing the football, now can Jared Goff win you the game? And now maybe, just maybe, you allow your defensive line, your pass rush, to get back into the contest and affect the game. Because if those guys are just having to run protect, it's a real problem.
It's going to be interesting the first time Detroit gets the ball. Do they almost set up into a running play and let the Cowboys know, we're running first down, and we're letting you know we're running first down. Load up the box. we're loading it up too, and we want to see how physical you want to be early in this game. I'm just going to be interested in seeing that first drive from Detroit, especially the first 2 plays of the game. How physical does Detroit want to be? Because if they run the ball up the middle for, let's say, 5 or 6 yards on the first play, and they do it again for 5 or 6 yards, and they get a first down on 2 running plays up the middle by just being as physical as possible and mauling, I will be worried that the Cowboys will lose. If the first 3 plays are 3 and out and they only run it 1 time and it seemed to be a little bit of a soft run and not a power run and they were trying to pass the ball, I'm going to think, this is great. They don't want to play to the Cowboys' weakness. They're trying to finesse it. And if you try to finesse the Dallas Cowboys can win the Super Bowl. I really believe this. If you play finesse football, the Cowboys are the best finesse football team in all of the NFL, better than any team. But if you start bullying and playing dirty and playing past the whistle and holding blocks long, the Cowboys will quit. It's proven. There's 15. I've watched 15 games. They will quit if you over kind of physicality the game. If you play past the whistle, you try to take late hits on Dak. They do not like it. They do not like the game being that type of game.
Before we go here, as we're talking about the different players or units that kind of give you some concern before Cowboys Lions, from the 817, they said they're worried about Amon-Ra St. Brown. If his hands touch the ball, it's a catch. He isn't going to drop a sideline bomb like Tyreek Hill did for you last week. And what's interesting is Amon-Ra St. Brown is a good receiver, very good receiver.
Yeah.
He does not strike me as like the type of receiver that you typically come into a game plan where like, we got to stop him.
100%. I'm with you. He's not like when we talk about the other day when we talked about CeeDee Lamb. He's not going to come up into a conversation. You're going to have to get at least 15 receivers into the NFL, and probably more than that, but at least 15 receivers into the NFL before you start bringing up Detroit wide receivers and being scared of them. It doesn't mean they're not good. I'm not saying they're not good, but they don't have a guy where right now Dan Quinn is going over some sort of game plan going, if we don't stop this wide receiver from touching the ball and then getting the ball in space, we will die. Right now, Dan Campbell's trying to figure out, how do we not die in this game with them running the ball up the middle?
I mean, I don't want to try and, lessen what he is. He's a very, very good wide receiver.
100%. I agree.
Almost as a slot guy. He kind of strikes me like almost like Cooper Kupp as well, where in the slot he can do a lot of things, but also
I agree.
I think coming into a week, a coordinator doesn't go, he can break this entire thing, which is a weird distinction to make. But I think when, like you said, when you have the strength and the run capability that the Lions do, that definitely becomes secondary, at least in my mind.
Yeah, like if they get a first down on their first 2 plays by throwing the ball, I'm not concerned. In a weird way, I'll be like, yeah, they're moving the ball. I don't want Detroit to move the ball. But if they move the ball by running, I don't think the Cowboys can make any adjustment to stop it. I think they can make an adjustment to stop them from passing the ball all over the field.
From the 469, what? Amon-Ra is 100% that guy. He's just as good as CD. Another 214, St. Brown is definitely a guy you have to game plan for.
He's good. Come on, guys.
I understand the way that people feel. I also lean in. I mean, the reason why I feel strongly about this particular idea is Dominique Foxworth used to play in the NFL, cornerback.
Yeah, he tells jokes, right? Foxworth?
Nope, that's Jeff Foxworthy, I think.
Okay.
Close
Thanks.
name. But Dominique Foxworth has that similar opinion where it's like, look, it's the guys that can come in and break your defense that you really worry about in a big way. Now, of course, he's going to matter. You are going to have to make sure
that he's good. I'm not saying he's not good. He's good. Would you say he's a top 10 receiver? He's 5th in yards. He has 8 touchdowns. He's having a good
100%, 100%. I don't know that I'd say he's top 10, but again, he's one that can make good plays. I think that your Cowboys team is situated in such a way to be able to handle that.
Yeah, he's good. I want to make clear the people that are texting in, we think he's really good. And maybe we
might be underrating him.
Yeah.
We'll see on Saturday, I think, but it's hard to try and find that middle ground that I think we're trying to find, where we're like, we want to give him his flowers while also understanding that I think there's a level above what he has.
Let me ask you this. I know we're going way late here. Last one is Cowboys talk is, All right, so the Cowboys have recently played Stephon Diggs and Tyreek Hill, and now they're about to play St. Brown. If you had to rank those three receivers in order, how would you rank those three receivers?
Hill, Diggs, Amon-Ra.
I think I'm with you on that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Diggs has dropped off, or maybe St. Brown's way better than I think.
And again, I've already given you my framework on who is the guys that break the game. Tyreek Hill is the ultimate game breaker. Stephon Diggs, very much a game breaker. And then Amon-Ra can make it difficult on you, but I don't view him in that same way. And so you understand my framework. If you disagree with my framework, that's fine. You are entitled to that 100%, dear listener, but that's kind of the way that I view it. Either way, the answers are on the field in football. It's one of the nice things about sports is that we can talk about it and think that we know what's happening. We
have to talk about it a lot because they only play once a week.
That's right. Antonio Pierce, he was asked about, he's the interim head coach with the Raiders, rather. He was asked about, if he feels like he deserves a job. He ultimately said, my resume is on the grass. And so I believe in that when it comes to football. And we'll find out on Saturday.
Same with Rashad Evans.
Yeah, a different type of grass, but appreciate that.
Okay.
I see where you're going, Mike. I thought it was good.